Hey guys, Coach Butler here. I just wanted to put together another quick video. We had a really great scrimmage yesterday against a travel team. Did really well, better than I expected us to do, considering a lot of those players have been playing for 4 or 5 years at a travel level. We did lose 2-0, but considering the opponent, I think that's a great accomplishment. Uh, Me getting to be on the field was really helpful for me because I got to see things from the player's perspective. I got to see our movements a little closer up, and there were some things that I observed that I think if we can improve upon, we're going to have a really successful campaign this season. So, if you watched the game, you would have noticed that the opposition had a lot more possession of the ball than us. They pressured us a lot more. The ball was in our half a lot more than it was in their half. So two things we can do better to try to prevent that next time. First is clearing the ball a little further. So a lot of times the ball would be back in these kind of areas and we would just kind of just kick the ball away. So the player would be running down, say the opposition's here with the ball, and our defender would come up and just kind of poke at the ball and it would come out to this area, and then this person would kind of poke at the ball and it would go there. We got to be a lot more direct than that at this level. If you remember, our formation, it works really well if this center forward is always stretching the field. So if the ball's in this kind of area in the center of the field, the center forward always needs to be pushed up towards the box. If the ball is back here in our defensive area, then that center forward needs to be around the halfway line, kind of on the side that the ball is, a little, between the center and halfway to the sideline on the side that the ball is. That way, we always know where there's going to be a striker. If the ball is over here on this side, then the center forward probably needs to be a little more in this way. So when we get the ball in these kind of defensive areas, instead of playing these little short balls, what I want us to focus on is clearing as hard as we can. Okay, we know this player is always going to be here, so that you can either play it right to them or play it into space in front of them for them to run onto. We've got big kicks in our defensive unit. We just weren't using it particularly well yesterday. I feel like if we'd done that, we'd flip the field more often. That gives us an opportunity to counterattack and potentially get a goal. So that's number one tip. The second one is related to that. So say we do that. Say we clear the ball out to this kind of area. The center forward's got it. They're getting supported by this left attacking midfielder. The right attacking midfielder is pushing up, making some space. At that point, the center midfielder's pushing up. Left wing back's going to come up to support, and the right wing back's going to push up. What we were doing a lot of times yesterday is one or both of the center backs were kind of hanging back too far. So in a lot of cases, one would be back here, the other one would push up. This player is now playing the opponent onside, so if the ball does come back in, they've got a clean run on goal with no defensive unit behind there. So we talk a lot in practice with the players about transition, and what that is the time between when the ball exchanges possession from one team to the other. So in this case, we had the ball in defense, or the opponent was attacking down here. We got the ball and cleared it out. That's a transition. Same as if we're running down here and we lose the ball to the opposition and they play it this way, that's a transition. So our whole structure of the team, our formation, our mindset needs to shift during that transition. It needs to shift faster than it is. So if we clear the ball out to these kind of areas anywhere in the other half, within 5 seconds, preferably less, but within 5 seconds, both center defenders need to push up as fast as they can up into this kind of halfway line area. If we do that, then it keeps these guys offside, or at a minimum brings them back onside so they're in their own half, and that prevents what was happening a lot yesterday where we'd get the ball back, lose possession, it would get sent right back to us. That's why we stayed under pressure, because we were staying back too much. So these two center backs need to really communicate a little better. Whoever it is, the wing back should always be in front of the center back, so they weren't really too much of a problem yesterday. They're always pushed up enough, but these center backs need to work as a team and try to stay parallel with each other at all times and push up together into this kind of area as soon as we get the ball into the opponent's half. A lot of times I was having to shout push up, and I really want the players to be able to do that without me prompting them. The goalie yesterday did a good job of beginning to help with that as well. A lot of times, if we had, say, a goal kick or a punt, our keepers both can kick the ball a good way, typically into the opposition's half. So it doesn't make sense when we have a goal kick or a punt to have the defenders hanging back here. That's wasted territory. So I want them to push up, knowing that we've just transitioned the ball and the ball's going to go up to that side. Now, as soon as we do lose the ball, obviously they need to start coming back at an appropriate pace. But really, our biggest weakness right now is not pushing up fast enough from the defense. So that's the second thing I want us to work on. And then let's talk about the third. And this thing is this is what cost us both goals yesterday. The same exact scenario on different sides of the field. So I'm going to bring all the players back to their positions. Center forward. All right. So let's say we're on defensive mode. One of the opposition has the ball in this kind of area. They're running at us down the wing. What we were doing yesterday is we were putting too many pressure defenders on that ball. So typically what we worked on in practice is the closest player to the ball is the pressure defender, meaning their job is to close that gap as fast as they can and get in front of that player, slow them down, not stab. Don't let the player get by them, but what we do call in practice jockeying. So get in front of them and slow them down, jockey them back. So that takes the speed out of the counterattack. Hopefully forces a mistake. We did it a couple of times yesterday. I think who was it? Astrid did a really good job of that at times yesterday, forcing them out for a throw-in without having to make a tackle. She was also making some good tackles. I think Angelia did that pretty well, and Ava did as well. So when we force pressure on the ball, we're slowing it down. What we were doing yesterday is this center back or this center midfielder or both were also gravitating towards the ball at the same time. So all three were pressuring the same ball rather than trusting the player that was pressuring the ball. What we want to see instead is more of a balance. So we trust that the player is going to deal with it, but we're cautious so that if they don't, we have a supporting defender right behind it. So if this ball gets past the first defender, there's a second defender. And then if they cut inside, there's the covering midfielder. Okay, that's more the scenario that we want. What was happening is this person would pressure, this person would pressure. We'd now way too clumped together, and we leave this big gap here for the other players to exploit. So say there was another attacker here, what would happen is then this person would shift all the way over here, and then there's another big gap, and this player would shift all the way over here, and that would allow another one of the attacking players to be wide open. So either that happens or that person's going to stay back, and that leaves a big gap here for someone to run through. So either scenario, it leaves us exposed at the back. So what we've got to make sure is this left wing back isn't coming over to this side of the field. This center midfielder is doing their job, which is kind of patrolling in front of the defense and being patient. In this case, the right center back is also there's the support defender. They're not getting sucked in to the play too quickly. They've got to be patient back here and allow their teammates to do what their responsibility is at that time. So if we play more balanced, what you'll see is we've got more cover. So it prevents these guys getting wide open and having a clear run on goal. Both our goals were scored that way yesterday. So we just need to be a little more patient, play our assignments a little bit better, trust that our teammates are going to do their job, but be aware that when they don't, we're ready to pounce. So one thing I talked about to some of the players individually yesterday is putting their head on a swivel, which basically means looking all around them, being aware of not just where the ball is, because at this level, a lot of players will tend to just be focused on the ball and want to go grab the ball no matter where it is, right? It's near them, they want to go get it. But what they really need to start doing is thinking about the bigger picture and looking not just where the ball is, but also where their other players are working as a team together. These guys should always be aware of who's either side of them, who's in front of them, and then also where the opposition is. So the head on the swivel means that the head is looking left and right at all times, so they know where everyone is, and that their position is going to put us in the best scenario. So say the center midfielder is not here, and we've got a scenario where this attacker has the ball in this situation, and we've got a player up here which they're going to be looking to receive the ball. What we want to do is kind of come in and defend so that we're forcing the player outside. They come up on the left of that player so that we're forcing the ball this way, forces the player to go that way towards the sideline, hopefully make a mistake, and it cuts off the immediate pass there. Now this player has two jobs at this point. Their job is to cover this. They're now the supporting defender, so they're covering the person that's pressuring, the pressuring defender, but they're also having to cover this player. And they've got to make real split time decisions of what they're going to do. If they push up too far, they're never going to be able to recover to this player. If they stay too close to this player, they're not going to be able to cover this one. So you're kind of hedging your bets a little bit. You're going to take a step back, look at the scenario, make sure you can see at all times both the ball and this player, and know that whichever scenario happens, you're in a position to cover either one, and communicate with your teammates as well. If this player does break down and the ball gets by, and this player does have to come across, then this is when they need to communicate and say switch, which means this wingback, instead of chasing behind the ball, is going to come up over and cover that position, so that this left wingback doesn't have to come all the way over, leaving that big gap that we spoke about. So really just being a bit more mindful about positioning and roles, not getting so caught up on where the ball is. Again, if the ball's here, it's not really a danger area. What we want to prevent is big gaps in this kind of area. This is a danger zone. If the players are running at us through these gaps, that's when we're going to get exploited. That's how we lost both our goals yesterday, so we really want to prevent that. So anyone that's playing in defense on Saturday, I really want to see you guys be a little more disciplined, a little more patient, be aware of your surroundings, be aware of your teammates. Don't get too close to each other, but don't get too far away from each other, and do a little bit better job of communicating where you are, what you're doing, and trust each other to do their job as well. So hopefully that helps. We'll work on that again in practice and before the game on Saturday. But if we do those three simple things, so transitioning faster, kicking the ball upfield better, and then playing our positions and being patient in defense, if we do those three things, I think it's going to be really hard for the teams in our league to score on us the rest of the season, and then we can really focus on developing our attack and trying to score more goals and hopefully have a shot at winning the championship this season. All right, cheers.